So our next baby will be born in our living room.
No.
Find out why. Yeah, so we are having a home birth for baby number 3. Really excited about it. It's something that we've considered in the past, but I guess I've always been hesitant of. We've gone through, and Matthew was born at a hospital, and Felicity was born at a local birth center. But this time, we decided to do it at home, and we've had a little bit of a journey. Mary-Kate's been pretty much since we've gotten married. She's wanted to have a home birth, so
I want to have a home birth because I just was never a huge fan of being in the hospital. Although there's nothing wrong with being in the hospital, and it's very safe to be in the hospital, it is also very safe to be at home or at the birth center. I think that's a big misconception with home birth, is that it's not safe. And while there are risks that come with a home birth, I think there are also risks that come with a hospital birth, because in some people's births, they are pushed to do things that they don't really want to do. And you really won't have that with a home birth. You have a midwife. I know for a fact that there are great doctors out there who promote natural birth. We did have one for Matthew's birth. She was very open to it, as well as the person that she worked with, who was with us actually the majority of the time in the hospital. So we were very grateful to have a positive natural birth experience in the hospital, but having a midwife and being at home is just something that I think is just very comfortable, and you don't have to worry. I mean, in the hospital I did have to have an IV. Although I wasn't connected to anything, it was still in my hand, which wasn't uncomfortable, it just wasn't ideal. Being at home is just more comfortable for me, and especially with having Matthew and Felicity now, if it's in the middle of the night, they can just sleep and we can have a baby, and we don't have to worry about someone coming over or us having to take them somewhere and waking them up in the night. And I think that's probably one of the bigger reasons now, although that wasn't a reason in the beginning because we didn't have any children, obviously. We just don't like to leave our kids, and we definitely don't like to leave them overnight. And obviously if something were to happen where we needed to transfer to the hospital, we do have a backup plan, and we would have someone come stay with the kids, and everything would go fine. Everyone would be happy and taken care of, but ideally we will be at home and comfortable here. I would love to have the kids involved, or like not involved really, but just like around and like here for it, especially like towards the end when the baby's actually born. Obviously during labor that could probably be boring for them, or maybe kind of scary since they're so little.
Yeah, I would say early on when we first started dating and even got engaged, Mary-Kate brought home birth to me, and it was a scary concept for me. I think for a lot of men and fathers, it's scary because, especially in today's day and age, you're just told that that's the safe place.
I think really for everybody.
Yeah,
even
that's
our parents and stuff were very much like, why would you want to do that? Yeah,
but like for like husbands, like we're not involved, like the mom groups that like talk about like the empowerment of being at home and the freedom at home. For us, it was just like, for me, it was like make sure like she and baby were safe, and for me that was just at the hospital, professionals that do it every day. And something especially that we learned with Felicity's prep before that was just being more informed and more prepared, and just like having that knowledge to know what to expect. And for me, I was always open to it, but I wanted to basically have my experience in a controlled environment where I knew that was like objectively safe, so that I knew when baby number 2 came around that I could recognize things in her, and like I could figure out how she best birthed, some of her like tics, and how she was best comfortable in birth, because my job was basically to take care of her, and her job was to basically be the rock star she is and get the baby out in the safest, most comfortable way. And to be an advocate for your wife as well, because one thing that we experienced in the hospital something I'm really thankful for is that she had a really hard transition period in birth, and our nurse was very much like, "That's time for the epidural. Like, don't you want it?" And I knew
so this was our nurse who was not affiliated
Correct.
with our doctor.
Yeah.
She was. It's just kind of a luck of the draw, whoever you get. So she was very much the more traditional. Let's do an epidural, and I think she also just didn't want me to feel like disappointed or like mad at myself for not having or for getting an epidural. She wanted to support me either way, but it was almost too supportive of the epidural.
Yeah.
But I do think that she had good I do think she had good intentions of saying like, okay, let's do it. Like, let me go get you the papers.
Yeah. Because you were in a lot of pain, and for her it was like her job was to comfort you in like that medical sense, where my job was to make sure that like I knew what you wanted and I knew that you were strong enough to get through it. And so like my job, and like I said, that was a big learning experience for me, was to get over that discomfort of like seeing my wife in discomfort, because for me that was tough and like draining for me. And so I knew that I could be like, yeah, like, let's get that quick fix. But we talked about it over and over, like what our plan was, and I knew her strength, and that empowered me, especially going forward into a birth center birth, is that I knew that what she could do and what her body could handle and knew what she could handle, and that empowered me. So I would say, I'm not saying that like you should always, if you want to have a home birth, first birth, go for it. But for me, in my kind of protector spirit, is I want to make sure that she was fully taken care of, and I wanted to be experienced enough to support her in that. And so now for us coming here to give birth, it's just kind of like that natural progression for us, is that everything went really well with Felicity. And I know like every birth is different, but
we also learned a lot. And I will say too that we were planning a home birth for Felicity and it didn't work out.
Yeah, that's true.
Because we couldn't find a midwife, because we didn't decide until like 20 weeks that we were going to do a home birth for sure. And so all of the midwives were booked for my date. But I will say we were also more prepared and definitely could have done a home birth had it been available to us for the second birth. Because we did take a Bradley method class, and while we didn't necessarily use the Bradley method during our birth, we did take bits and pieces from it and use that. And we also just kind of learned, okay, so like had we done this class before my hospital birth, I don't think that I would have even considered an epidural, because we learned that in transition you're very close to the end.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that that's where we were at that point. So it felt like there was a long road ahead. And so I think that had we been more informed of exactly what labor was going to be like, and while you can't know exactly, you could be more be more educated on it, and so that would make it easier to get through. I would just say too that the birth center was so relaxing and just like
that definitely helps.
So chill. Whereas in the hospital,
so rigid and sterile.
Yeah, it just wasn't as. And there were so many people there, and like always people coming in and out. At the birth center, we just stayed in our room, and it was just like a bedroom, as you guys saw probably in our video. And I loved that we got to go home so fast. So I guess back to kind of the point of the video is that we want to have a home birth because we feel this is the most comfortable option for us. And that it's also really important to remember that birth is a natural thing. It's not a medical thing. It doesn't need intervention. And I think a lot of people think that it does need intervention, and our bodies were made to do this. There haven't always been medications and stuff to get us through birth, and while yes, some people do need that and they do need medical attention and maybe they do need a C-section for whatever reason, I'm very glad we have these things available to us. And maybe even that will happen for me, that I will need that.
Down the road, maybe.
Yeah, at some point. And that's fine. But at this point, having home birth is very important to us. And being in our own setting and just like in our own environment and bringing the baby into our home. And I think that I love working with our doctor, but I love working with a midwife. It's very personal. We see her every visit rather than seeing just a nurse or seeing one of the other practitioners in the office. So she really gets to know us and we really get to know her. So I really like that aspect of it as well.
Yeah, and just kind of wrap things up. And I know Mary Kate said we didn't really use the Bradley method. I would say that we did, in the sense that the Bradley method is husband-led or husband-coached birth. Yeah. And we might have used like the breathing exercises.
That's
and like
kind of what I meant. Yeah.
That we didn't necessarily use like the breathing exercises or like the strategy. I would say I used some of the strategies in birth. She might have not done the breathing exercises. We learned a lot
from it, and we learned a lot of different coping and different things. Sure. But I don't think we followed to a T the Bradley method.
But I'm going to say
But the sense of the Bradley method of it being husband-coached birth, yes.
Yeah, because what the class taught us was for me to recognize what she needed, and I think that's the one little token that I took away was it's my duty to make sure she's taken care of the whole time. And I kind of had inklings of that in our first birth, but I took that to the next level, I think, with our second birth for sure.
And obviously it was our second birth, so we did kind of know what to expect more. I also just realized that the baby monitor's been on this whole time, so if you've heard like this faint
buzzing
vacuum sound or something, that's just the baby monitor because Felicity's upstairs sleeping.
So that's why there's no kids around. So, but yeah. Perfect. Yes, if you guys have any questions about home birth or hospital birth or birth center birth or birth in general, feel free to comment below if you have any questions, because I'm sure this might reach a lot of people, because it is a popular topic and we want to give our experience and give that knowledge to our community, but also people that are searching for something like this as a whole. So feel free to, like I said, comment below, reach out to us on Instagram. We're pretty good about replying to DMs. So if there's any men out here that might see this, reach out to me, and especially if there's any moms that need some.
Or if you want to see any videos in the future from either of us or both of us again, just on birth. We are not experts, but we love to talk about it. Yeah. We have experience.
Yeah, and we'll link all of our birth vlogs below, or there'll probably be the suggested videos at the end of this video as well. So feel free to watch those, see what those experiences firsthand were like. We're going to end it here. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you all tomorrow with our next video. Bye.